You look great, Juan. He's very sharp. Okay, I think we're live. Hi, everyone. As people start trickling in, we're here from the mountains of Costa Rica in Turuares, Costa Rica. I'm here with Juan Pardo-Hoffmaister, my cousin, who is, Juan, tell us where you are in San Jose, right?
Yes, I'm right now in Tres Rios, actually, which is the border between San Jose and Cartago. So
Okay. Beautiful. San Jose,
it's a
Cartago.
beautiful day today.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Wish you guys could see where, this beautiful, gorgeous day, the view here. I'm so excited to interview Juan today. Just to give you all a little bit of background on me, I haven't officially introduced myself to you all, but I will be your new host for this Scenes Media, Music and Culture podcast, Scenes Live Sessions. We're going to be interviewing various artists throughout our time, artists in just kind of across the board genres and different areas. I'm so honored to have the first interview here in Costa Rica with my cousin, with Juan. We're going to talk about his opera singing journey. And then later on, as we start to develop up the Substack and the newsletter and more interviews, we'll also be interviewing industry insiders, agents, producers, publicists for them to share more of like their mentor type of advice. For other musicians looking to figure out a way how to navigate life as a musician, advice they might be looking for in a music career, things like that. So it'll be a mix of artists, and also industry insiders. So we're really excited to kick it off today with Juan. So Juan Pardo is a opera singer here in Costa Rica and also a industrial engineer student. Right, Juan? Tell us a little
Yes,
bit about yourself.
yes. So I started singing when I was about 16. I went to a really good singer's house here in Costa Rica, and he told me, "Hey, you should start classes." So it's you have to know how to take that comment because it could be you sing really ugly. So before you start singing again, you should go to a class. Or hey, I see potential in your voice, so you should start working on it because some people think that the voice develops naturally and it's just you go and sing and that's it. But in reality, you have to work on it, on your technique, on your breathing, and that all comes together when you sing. So I started classes. I started singing pop music and like the oldies, like Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley. And after about a year, I started to like classical crossover. So my
Mm.
teacher then told me, "Hey, I can't teach you the classical technique, so you should look for a new teacher." And I did. And for a while, I was without a teacher.
Oh, wow.
And then I found a master. Well, his name was Ricardo Bernal. He's still alive. His name is Ricardo Bernal. And I started classes with him. He just gave me the opera technique. And he told me, hey, that's the base of singing is opera. So we're going to learn that.
Oh, wow.
And I started the class for about 2 years. I was in classes with him, but also in school. I graduated and started studying industrial engineering at the Costa Rican Institute of Technology. And when I was like about 2 years into my career, they they sent out they sent out this call for artists. So then I sent my audition, and I didn't study opera. I just sang like a hobby, and I got in. It was
Wow.
an opera studio, the first opera studio in Costa Rica.
Oh, wow. You
Yeah,
got accepted.
with a Mexican teacher. So it was a big deal for me. I was like, well, I do sing something.
Oh,
And the Mexican teacher practically destroyed me the first class, and he was like, "Hey, you have to take this seriously if you want to go somewhere." And it stuck. Like, hey, take it seriously, take it seriously. People were telling me, "Hey, you should sing, you should sing, you should sing." So a year later, I decided to leave industrial engineering and go live to Mexico,
mm-hmm.
work exclusively on my opera career. So for 6 months, I did that. and worked on my technique, my repertoire. I sang two operas there. I sang La Bohème and La Traviata. In I
Wow.
also sang different ensembles and with the symphony from Costa Rica. I sang also a gala, and after all that time, I decided, hey, I should take back engineering because it's also one of my passions. So I'm back here,
Hmm.
and I started studying again. That's like my overview of my career until
A
now.
condensed overview. Incredible. And I want to hear more about, yeah, I have so many questions about like just this journey in general, like what inspired you. You realized you had that voice. I love that you sort of had that. Oh, okay. Well, then maybe there's a skill there. Let me explore it more. And then what that entails as far as like really studying that, like really studying that rigorous dedication, that rigorous training, and like really, hitting where you need to hit in order to move forward. Before we jump into that, though, I just want to tell anybody who has any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat here. This is our first time using StreamYard, so hopefully you all can hear me okay, hear Juan okay. Let us know if you can't, but if the audio is off, I hear everything perfectly fine right now, but just let us know in the chat through Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter if anything is off. But yeah, Juan, tell us more about, like you mentioned, like it's opera singing isn't for the weak. It's
Yeah,
rigorous, it's dedication, it's training. So share us more about like some of those challenges you faced throughout, and what inspired you to keep going and to say, okay, no, I want to see this through.
yeah. So I'm a baritone, so that means I don't have such a high voice as a tenor or such a low voice as a bass. So in Latin pop music, especially like Luis Miguel or Jose or like the classics
Mm,
Latin pop music, where you see and people say, hey, that's a really really good singer. They have a really they hit very high notes. They sing
mhm.
in the high range all the time, and that's like normal. And when you see a singer hit a high note, people like the masses say he's a really good singer, which is not necessarily the case. I couldn't hit those high notes because I'm a baritone.
You're a baritone, you're deeper, right?
Yeah, I'm a little deeper. So singing Frank Sinatra was very natural for me.
Right.
If pop music was Frank Sinatra, then I'd be comfortable. But it's not right now. The thing is, I got frustrated, and since it didn't come as easy for me to sing the pop music that's live right now, I had to work more on my technique, and I had to work more and practice more. So I got past this point of not working on my voice naturally, if I may say it that way. So I passed this barrier in a way that so that I could sing something nice, then I had to work more on my voice. So I took a different route. But I think that what happens is that some people do hit those high notes naturally. They have a range that it's comfortable for them,
Hmm.
and it's easy for them to hit the high notes, so they don't work on it as much, they don't study as much, and then they get like they leave it behind,
They leave it, they get
or yeah,
frustrated.
or they get really high in the pop culture and don't really know music or don't really know technique, and then they destroy their voice or something like that. So I think there are like two types of singers, and there's the singer that just sings and it's okay. It's just different. What I
That's
did
right.
was study the technique so that I could sing as good as possible without hurting my voice.
Like without damaging
And
your vocal cords.
and exerting the least amount of effort in my voice, and just being calm in a stage. So after hours of rehearsing and hours of learning technique, you get to a stage and it's natural. It's almost like you're a robot.
It's like you go to sleep, right? It's like your normal
Muscle
sleep
memory.
routine, muscle memory. Tell us
Yeah.
more about how you notice your voice changing throughout this training, throughout, I hear your voice starts to really mature in your 30s. So how have you noticed your voice changing? Juan went to San Miguel de Allende, as you mentioned, in Mexico to study there at a university or opera
No,
university,
it's an opera studio.
opera
Yeah.
studio. Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you sit
So
back and notice changes and shifts in your technique?
yeah, I noticed, like, from the first singing lesson you get, the first thing you notice is that you're breathing wrong. And everybody breathes, well, not everybody, but I would say most people don't know how to breathe to sing. It's different.
Show us
You
what is that like? What do you do?
Well, in Spanish it would be respiración diafragmal. So you have to breathe with your diaphragm instead of, like, if you breathe normally, usually people, like, that's how you breathe. In yoga class, you're like,
Yep.
but you need to learn how to breathe so that it doesn't exert tension in your upper body, well, upper torso.
Mm-hmm.
So you expand your diaphragm down, and that way you're free here, and that lets your voice just, like, create a column of air all the way to your soft palate, and that's what resonates, and
Wow.
that's what doesn't hurt you. So the first thing in lesson was like, we'll breathe, and
Learning
I
how to
got all dizzy, and I was like, what's going on?
What are we doing? I thought I was going to be singing. Now we're breathing.
Yeah, and it was like, blow here, and I was like, and you find out, you realize that you're not breathing right. You have to learn how to breathe. So then you have to practice breathing, and after you practice breathing, your voice automatically gets more natural. It gets
Mm,
freer. You learn how to say a phrase in a single fiato, in a single air. So you breathe once, and then you say a long phrase and sing.
mm,
You breathe again, and that allowed me to sing more songs easier.
mm-hmm.
Not easy, because it's never easy, but easier. So then I could sing Frank Sinatra with more passion, and,
Yes.
like, really in in the phrase, really get into the music.
Get into the essence of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then I learned vocal technique, because after breathing you have to learn where to put your voice. It's a difficult concept to understand,
Mm-hmm.
but in essence it's to liberate the throat from any tension,
Mm-hmm.
and to guide the air where you want it to go.
Mm.
So you have to learn how to make your resonators vibrate so that the sound gets amplified. I actually sang a couple of days ago to you,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you noticed, when I took off the microphone and started singing with operatic technique, it sounded just as loud.
Wait, where did you send them?
I sang
Oh, you said, yeah, exactly. When you sang,
in
yes,
the event.
for
So
Mother's Day.
so yeah. So right there, what the only thing I did, I wasn't putting more pressure. I was relaxed. My body was relaxed.
Yeah.
But the only thing I did was open my throat and use the resonators. So
Oh,
that,
so your resonators are right here, you're saying?
no, they're in your head,
Oh, okay.
not in the throat, not in the
So
throat.
you
Well,
can
you're
really get into
also in
the
the chest.
in the chest.
So yeah. So then after that, you know how to do it, but you can't do it because it's something physical. It's something that you have to practice, and it's something
Oh,
you have to train. because as you have stamina when you run, you have stamina when you sing. Your
Yeah.
diaphragm gets tired.
Right.
Your throat from being like being open, it's also tiring. It's something you're not used to.
It's exerting that energy.
So when I went to Mexico, that's what actually changed a lot. I was singing every day for hours instead of studying engineering. And
Yep.
I was singing more difficult repertoire, higher in my vocal range, and exploring more arias, exploring more operas. And I remember there was a day when I sang an aria that I had sung here in Costa Rica before leaving, and it was super easy. I was
Mm.
already used to singing, and my technique was developing, and I felt really comfortable. That said, there's a lot to work on. After you know your technique, you have to learn how to do the colors. If something is piano, if something is forte, if you want to sound like you're in love, if you want to
Mm.
sound like you're angry, but
You're
not
mad.
involve your throat.
Oh, that comes in more of the acting and the body and right,
Yeah, and the color, because you could be angry and then destroy
right,
your vocal cords,
right, exactly.
or you could
So
be
then
angry, and it's
you're really now,
developing your
yeah, go
your
ahead.
character as a
Mastering
whole.
your voice and developing your character. I wanted to ask you more about that actually too. The next question was about like that's perfect. Segue into how do you balance because I can imagine. Okay, so Juan sings in multiple languages: German, Spanish, English. What other languages, Juan?
Italian, French, German, English, and Spanish.
Oh my gosh, amazing, incredible. So my question is, how do you balance that like memorization of what you're singing when it's a language it's not in your native tongue, like Spanish obviously is, but when it's in a language that you've actually studied, how do you balance that memorization of the lyrics of what you're supposed to be saying next of the song, but also like you just said, acting and making sure you're natural on stage and you're really in that persona, you're embodying the entire character.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the most important pillars of opera singing. You need to know what you're saying all the time. It's just like acting. You need to know what you're saying.
Yeah,
So the optimal would be that you know all the languages.
right,
You can speak all the
perfect,
languages. You
fluent.
understand all the
Yeah.
languages. You're fluent in all of them, in German, Spanish, French, Italian, and English. If you know those five languages, you can sing almost every opera.
Wow.
That would be the optimal. But since I'm not fluent in all of those five languages, what I did was, well, I studied German for a while, so I can
Mhm.
understand some of it, and also I can pronounce most of it.
Okay.
And Italian is similar to Spanish. It's different in most words, but after a while, you start understanding and you start getting to know the language a little better.
Mhm.
French, I can't. It's very hard for me. But the important thing at the end is that you know what you're saying all the time. All the time, you need to know exactly what the words mean that you are saying, what the words that you're saying mean. So you get an opera, you start an opera. This is what I used to do. Well, what I did for the last 6 months when I was living in Mexico. So you get the score, which is a book about this thick,
Wow.
and you go all through it, translating every single word by word. So with
Wow.
Google Translate, or there are librettos that come with the translation,
Yeah.
but it's better to do it word by word so that you get the exact definition with the context. Sometimes Google Translate goes off in
Right. Off
another
context.
direction. Yes.
Right. So then
So
you study that prior to your performance.
you translate every word, and that
Okay.
helps also to memorize the words.
Right.
So for example, in La Boheme, the first phrase of the opera is Questo marroso m'amorisce sidera. And
Questo marroso,
you're
mamorisce
like,
sidera.
what? It means this Red Sea, it doesn't inspire anything on me. It's horrible. Right? That's like a rough translation.
Wow.
It's not the exact translation.
Okay.
That's a rough translation. That's what I read.
Right.
And Marcello sings that phrase. So you translate that. And then you translate what Rodolfo says back to him. And then you translate the whole conversation so
The whole
that when you're
conversation.
on stage, you know what you're saying.
Right. And
You
you
know
can
what's
act.
going on. So that you can personify. The goal, I would say, in opera is to give the best interpretation you can of what the composer wanted to give to the audience,
To portray. Right.
to portray us.
Exactly. And I imagine it's
So
also like looking back at, old plays and how they portrayed it and how they embodied those characters as well.
yeah, so I think if the music calls for love, then you have to reach deep and extract that love so that people get involved with what you're saying. They feel the love.
They feel it. Yes, that's the goal for them, to the person in the seat watching. They have to be almost feeling like they're on that stage with you.
Yeah, and that they're experiencing that as well. In
Exactly.
in La Boheme, the feelings are real. The what happens is very real. It could happen to you. So the story in La Boheme is that Rodolfo falls in love with Mimi, but Mimi has tuberculosis and she ends up dying. It's not a spoiler, but every like before you go to the opera, you should know what the opera is about because if
What it's
not, you're gonna
about.
be lost.
They won't have any idea. Right.
And Mimi dies at the end, and the music at the end is so touching. It's extremely deep, and Rodolfo cries out Mimi, and
Oh,
everybody is crying, and so you really need to feel that if you're on stage so that you can transmit it to the audience. If not, what's the point?
exactly. That's what I think is so beautiful about opera, is that you can take such raw and real emotions like suffering, joy, love, everything that we feel as humans, and act it out in such a beautiful way to show, that these emotions are beauty, even if it is suffering or, death or grief or whatever it is you're going through. It's beautiful because we're humans, and we're meant to go through it, and you can express that through your singing, through art, through the music being played. I mean, it's amazing. It's beautiful.
So getting back to what you said, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. So getting back to what you said about learning the language, when you have studied a piece of music, so that you learn the rhythm, you
Yeah.
learn the notes, you learn the tempo, you learn when to go, when to get in, when to sing, and you know what they're saying, you know what you're saying, and you know the emotion that goes with that. The lyrics, or it comes it comes by
It comes
itself.
natural. It's not like
It's
you have to
the
be
easiest part.
memorizing. Yeah, at that point you're living the entire ora, the piece.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
that means that it's it's there. It just comes out. The amount of studying and the amount of time and effort that goes into a single opera, I would say, is more than enough to learn the what you're saying. It's
What you're saying.
it At the end, it's easy, but
Oh, incredible.
it needs a lot of work, and also you get you need to have a good vocal coach, and I had an excellent vocal coach. His name is Rogelio Riojas,
Okay.
and he really knows the languages. He really knows how to pronounce. He knows how the music. He's a really good pianist. He has participated in more than 50 bohemes, so he really knows
Wow.
what he's doing. And that means that when I had trouble with the pronunciation, he would say, no, it's like this. Or with the music, hey, this is the intention you need. This part goes exactly like this, or which varies depending on the
Yeah.
director you're using, but still, you need to
Investing in
know.
a good vocal director.
Yeah, your vocal coach is, I would say, a pillar of your development as a singer.
Your development in your career. Beautiful. Okay, Juan, I want to cut here too before we wrap up at the end. I want to show the audience here a clip from your performance in what is it called? Quintet? The
Yeah, it's
quintet,
the Magic Flute Quintet.
the Magic Flute
I
Quintet.
sung Papageno. It was
Okay.
last year with in July with the whole Costa Rican Symphony
Yes,
and the
incredible.
symphonic choir.
Wow.
So more than like 100 people on stage.
Oh my gosh,
It was amazing.
incredible. And in the audience, more than 500.
Well, we had the theater was full the whole
Full.
three days we had.
And
So it was
and
like 600 people.
oh my gosh, incredible. This is Juan performed here at the Teatro Nacional, the National Theater here of Costa Rica, which I believe is one of the oldest theaters in Latin America.
Yeah,
¿Verdad, Juan?
yeah, and it's also one of the most beautiful
Second.
I've ever seen.
It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So you'll see here the stage primarily, but check out Juan, his voice, his singing, the symphony behind him as well in the orchestra. So let me put that up here, add to the stream. So there we go. We'll drop this link in the chat as well if you guys want to watch the rest of it. It's beautiful, Juan. Absolutely beautiful. And it's incredible you can sing like that in German. It's such a talent. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, so that in that specific ensemble, the hardest part wasn't the German. It was it's a really clean music. It doesn't have a lot of instruments at the same time. It's
Mm,
dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
dun. You have to really know what you're singing, because if you don't, it will destroy everything.
You'll be lost throughout the entire song.
Well, you'll if you sing really loud, then it sounds out of place. You'll sound out of
Oh,
place.
right.
Yeah,
It has
it'd
to become
be
a
yeah.
softer. Wow. And that was last
Yes.
June. Beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. So, Juan, tell us what's next for you. Where can people continue to follow your journey? What are you most excited about in this next stage of your life?
So right now I'm back at Costa Rica. I have about a year and a half left in my engineering career, which is something I want to finish to get out of the way.
Yes.
And after that, my idea is to go to Europe, so that with an opera scholarship or something like that, I can continue studying both opera and maybe a master's degree or something like that.
No.
But for now, I'm working more on the popular music, so that I
Okay.
can sing events here in Costa Rica. For example, the Mother's Day event I sang
Yeah.
at,
It was beautiful.
and I want to give to teach also singing. because
Oh,
it's I really like to teach singing. It's different than teaching anything else. It's more involving. It's you really get to experience firsthand what the technique does for someone.
mm-hmm.
And I gave a couple of classes in Mexico to some singers and helped some of my fellow
Wow.
singers in some parts that I knew how to resolve, and they helped me in some parts I didn't know how to resolve on the technique.
Oh, incredible.
So yeah, classes, concerts here, working on my popular career, and after that, studying abroad.
And studying in Europe. Oh wow. Well,
Yeah,
the world is your oyster. And I think that's one of the sure signs of like you're really mastering your skill when you know you can teach it and you can teach it well. So that's incredible, Juan. I'm so excited to continue to follow you and see where this starts to unfold for you.
and you can follow me in my Instagram. It's J Pardo Hoff.
Let me put that here in the chat. Do you have the link for your quintet handy by any chance, Juan, or no?
I can get it in a second.
So make sure to follow Juan. He's here on Instagram. I'll just put this in the chat here, and more on his journey there, and he'll share the YouTube link for you as well. Beautiful
Yes.
performance. Okay, then thank you so much for joining us today. We loved chatting with you, and hopefully I would love to do another version of this once you get to Europe and you have more to share on your opportunities out there as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you invited me to be here.
What was that?
I even took a shower today to be here.
You look nice, very sharp. I love it.
Thank you. So I don't know why I can't send it. I think I already sent it in the chat link, but I don't know if it went out.
Let's see. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here it is. I don't see it in the chat.
Okay, one sec. I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
So that,
send it to me. Where are you sending it? Through email?
no, WhatsApp. Well, if you want through email, I'll send it.
Yeah, send it to my email. Might be better
Okay.
there. And for those watching, feel free to pop in any questions you have. We're going to wrap up here in a minute, but just let us know. And we will be continuing to schedule out more of these sessions as the weeks progress. This Saturday, I'm actually going to be talking to Juan, I think a good friend of you, Michelle Mishkat. She's a very, very well-known pop artist here in Costa Rica. Your mom actually put me in contact with her. I love the Ingrid is amazing. She knows everyone.
Well,
So
Mishkat
yeah.
is a rock star. I love her music, and I think you enjoy very much having her in your channel.
Oh, I'm excited. We're excited to chat with her. I got it. Here's the link you sent. There's the link for the rest of the performance if you'd like to see Juan there. The National Theater here in Costa Rica. And yes, so we'll be doing that on Saturday, I believe sometime around 4 or 5, but we'll make sure to send out announcements on that and future interviews as well coming up. Thank you, Juan. I really appreciate
Thank you very
you.
much.
All the
Thank you
best
for
as
having
well.
me.
Y ahí estamos
Bye
hablando.
bye.
Un beso. Ciao.
Bye.